Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I'm Dr. John Arns. Thank you for listening to this webinar. We're going to talk all about feeling the male body and everything that goes into that, and mainly nutritional factors, talking about things like testosterone and male hormones, and how to just optimize the health of your body, especially with regards to mastering the hormonal system and the health of your gut. As you're going to see, it's all tied together. And a little bit more about who I am. You've maybe heard some things if you watch any of the previous videos, but I'm a structural chiropractor in St. Michael, Minnesota. And with that, I focus on structural correction of the spine and nervous system, and get a lot of patients dealing with chronic health challenges. With our focus, we're more about optimizing the overall function of the brain, the nervous system, and the body as a whole. So we get people that are referred from your more traditional pain relief style of clinics. And it's a lot of fun. It's a really fun approach. Also a member of the Weston A. Price Foundation. That organization the focus of that organization is using traditionally prepared nutrient-dense foods to help the body function optimally. And in our clinic, the reason we see the results we do is we have an underlying philosophy that we utilize. It's an approach using salutogenesis. So that's the philosophy we operate with. So saluto is the Latin for health, genesis is the creation of. So all the different factors that support human health and well-being, rather than focusing on and treating symptoms. So traditionally, most healthcare facilities focus on treating and managing symptoms, which are secondary conditions. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's more of a reactionary approach. Our approach is more proactive. So we're always looking to create health in the body, because when we can create health in the body, we're going to minimize the likelihood of disease and dysfunction. As you're going to see with this webinar, nutrition is a huge part of optimizing your health and everything that's related to that. When you have health, your life in general just is better, because when you're healthy, you're more functional, you're happier, you have a better mood, you're more ambitious in life. And we'll get into everything that affects what goes into creating a healthy body, in particular for a male. So this is the outline of how I want to go through all the info here. So we're going to start with the gut, start with healing the gut. Maybe you've heard some things about the importance of your gut health. You're going to see how it really lays the foundation, though, for creating a healthy body, and particularly optimizing hormones, which are so important. After that, we're going to get into eliminating, reducing the enemies. So getting rid of the stuff that's damaging our gut. And, we can try to eat good food every single day, but ultimately, if our gut's unhealthy, we're not going to absorb that food very well, and we're not going to be able to utilize the nutrition in it. So we really want to make sure our gut is healthy. And then with that, once we heal that and we reduce the perpetrators that are damaging the gut, we want to get into the foods, adding in nutrient-dense foods in our diet that help promote health and start to optimize our hormonal system. And then lastly, we'll touch on complementary lifestyle additions to heal and repair. So really kind of stepping back and looking at the big picture with what it takes to really turn your body into a healthy machine. All right, the reality of male hormonal health. I'll lower my screen here for you. There we go. So 1 in 4 men over 30 have androgen deficiency. So when we say androgen, it's kind of a group of male steroid hormones, primarily, obviously, the big one, testosterone. So males, females, both have testosterone. Females, they're much higher in estrogen and progesterone. Males tend to be have more of a testosterone dominant hormonal system. So obviously it's affecting a lot of people, and we'll get into why that is. But based on these results, researchers, so this was research done not too long ago, but by 2025 predicted as many as 6.5 million American men between 30 and 75 would have androgen deficiencies. So the outlook here is these deficiencies in testosterone are on the increase. This is from New England Health Institute. So hormonal imbalance affects males of all ages. It's not just older men or adult men. It's affecting young boys a lot of times before they even get to puberty, with nutrition and environmental factors playing into that. And that just kind of sets a foundation, a shaky foundation, as they grow into adulthood and become men. And so we want to consider these things as parents of children. and obviously helping our children grow and develop optimally. And primarily these are caused by, we'll talk about this, nutritional deficiencies and environmental hormone mimicking chemicals. So chemicals in our environment, a lot of times we're told that are harmless, that are not harmless and have big implications on our health. Secondary conditions related to hormonal imbalance. You can go down the list here. I won't read them all off, but we've probably all maybe experienced these things throughout life at some point. And some people obviously really are dealing with these and on a daily basis and are really affecting their contentment in life, their lifestyle, and their ability to function optimally. So I'm telling you, there's a way to help heal from all this stuff, to kind of undo this stuff without your traditional drug therapy approach. Although that does have its place, we can start to heal these issues with a lifestyle approach, starting with nutrition. What causes hormonal imbalance? I want to emphasize rarely is it one sole cause. And what that means is there's not a silver bullet fix. You can use a drug to try to manage your symptoms. You might get temporary relief, but ultimately you're not correcting an underlying imbalance. So it's a combination of chemical, both toxins in our environment, in our food, in the air we breathe, chronic emotional stress, and physical stressors. So being physically worn down, having structural issues with the spine, the nervous system. There's a few different things that play in the physical stressors, and combination of these things over the course of life is what causes dysfunction in the body and eventually leads to secondary conditions and other dysfunctions. So we wanted to begin the process of correcting hormonal imbalance starting with food, because the reason I say this, I'm a structural chiropractor, but obviously you can go without structural chiropractic care, but you can't go without food. So everyone has to eat, so we might as well eat food that helps our body function optimally, rather than just eating foods that taste good and are stimulating. Easier said than done, but when you kind of wrap your head around how powerful food can be in helping you feel and function better, and you really want to get better, there's no other way. We got to start putting good food into our body. So we need food to survive, so why not eat food that optimizes the function of our body? This chart's called the gut-brain quadrangle. I want you to try to grasp an understanding of this. So this was taken from the Autism Quadrangle by Paul Hardy, and you can really apply it to any disease or dysfunction of the body. So basically, in the center here, think of it as the human body. So we have the brain, the nervous system, the immune system, the detoxification system, the GI system. In the center of that, we have individual genetics, which plays a minor role, very small role. Some people are genetically unable to detoxify as well as others, but predominantly the main cause of issues and dysfunctions in the body are environmental stressors. So in the center here, the human body, the brain controls everything in the body. The brain, the spinal cord, the spine, constantly communicating from the brain to all the different tissues and cells in your body. The immune system is controlled by that, the detoxification system, your GI system. So that's the body in the center. On the left here, we have environmental stressors, physical, chemical, mental, emotional. These are the primary causal factors of bodily disease and dysfunction, including hormonal imbalance. So over the course of time, over the course of life, we have environmental stressors that affect our body here. We combine that with malnutrition. Most people are just simply not getting nutritional sufficiency. And over time, we get oxidative stress on the brain and the body. Here in the center, that leads to inflammation. A lot of times we continue to stress our body. That leads to chronic inflammation. That chronic inflammation leads to different disease presentations in the body, symptoms I call secondary conditions, because there's an underlying primary condition that causes it. Symptoms, we're not trying to treat them. That's a warning sign that something's going wrong in the body. We want to correct that. So to summarize, environmental stressors, this malnutrition causes oxidative stress over the course of life, leads to inflammation, which leads to all sorts of different health problems. And the gut is hugely important in getting your body to function optimally, getting your hormones balanced out, optimizing testosterone production. And we're going to get into the function of the gut here. Oop, I want to go back. So getting more into the gut, maybe some of you have heard of leaky gut syndrome. And I want to start by saying your gut has a lining in it, and it's a single layer of cells here, intestinal mucosal cells. This lining is what protects your bloodstream and your tissues from bad guys, viruses, other chemicals, foreign proteins. And when this protective layer breaks down, your body gets vulnerable, and that's really the start of many different disease processes. So typically we like to see these cells here, call them gap junctions between these mucosal cells in your gut, should be nice and tight. What happens, we get leaky gut from these different triggers that damage the intestinal lining. So you can go down the list here: poor diet, antibiotics, infections, drugs, stress, alcohol. Chronic exposure to these things causes the gut to get leaky. When the gut gets leaky, different compounds, foreign compounds that shouldn't be in our bloodstream, get into the bloodstream. This leads to circulating immune complexes. So you get into the blood, and these immune complexes for our immune system reacts to them. This creates inflammation because once it's in the blood, it has access to all of our tissues. Remember, these are things that shouldn't be there. It's our abnormal environment that we're in, with the creation of all these different chemicals in the last 50 to 100 years that's damaging our gut. And then you add in the poor diet, the poor food, and you just have a recipe for disaster. But these circulating immune complexes then get into the blood-brain barrier, and your brain has a protective barrier as well. These same compounds and things that break down our gut lining break down our blood-brain barrier. And then our brain's exposed, potentially be damaged. It can also lead to autoimmunity, because when you have these foreign compounds, foreign proteins getting into our tissues, and you can name the tissue, the immune system is going to mount a response to that particular tissue. And so you can have autoimmunity in various areas of the body. This also leads to malabsorption and nutrient deficiencies, because when these foreign proteins and chemicals get into our blood, different nutrients can bind to them, and we no longer can use those nutrients. So it's a negative compounding effect once this happens. And that's why when it really comes to optimizing your health, you really want to start with healing the gut and making sure you're not damaging your gut, because otherwise you're just going to be having an uphill battle trying to get better. So signs you have leaky gut and leaky brain. So remember, it starts with leaky gut, and then when your protective gut line breaks down, everything's getting into your bloodstream, and then it goes up to the brain, and the brain becomes vulnerable, and you get more complex issues. So chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, you can go down the list here, anxiety, with leaky gut, hormonal issues. We're going to talk about those things, food sensitivities, gassing, cramping, skin conditions, all related to leaky gut. Well, your gut's so important. When I say it all starts in your gut, this is from a medical doctor. Basically, everything, like I just mentioned, can potentially stem from a unhealthy, damaged gut. Headaches, migraines, allergies, autoimmunity, weight gain, skin rashes, yeast infections, hormonal imbalances. You can go down the list here, all relate to the health of your gut. So with that, I talked about different chemicals that can damage our gut. And once our gut's damaged, and these chemicals, as you read here, these are man-made chemicals, only new to the human species in the last probably 50, 100 years, roughly speaking, generally speaking, maybe not all of them, but these are new to humanity. And you wonder why we're getting such an increase in different diseases and dysfunctions of the body, and hormonal imbalances and low testosterone, all these different things. This is a big part of it, and it's just not getting enough attention in mainstream, in my opinion. So you can go down the list here of all these different things that we're exposed to in our clothing, in our soaps, in our personal care products, in electronics, plastics. Every single day we're exposed to these things, a lot of times unavoidably. So we got to start doing things we can to minimize our exposure. I don't think we can ever completely eliminate. We want to try to minimize, because these things literally mimic hormones in your body. So things like testosterone, I mean, you can go down the list of the different hormones in the body, but they mimic those things and are just going to cause complete disruption and chaos, leading to different hormonal issues that we just looked at. All right, so getting into a little more of the nutritional aspect of things here, people, are asking, how do we eliminate the enemies? We talked about that in the outline at the beginning. So foods that cause leaky gut, generally speaking, we want to get rid of grains, sugars, and artificial sweeteners. These are bad for our gut for various reasons. Um, just think of them as damaging the gut bacteria in our gut and those mucosal cells in the gut. They damage those. Conventional meat, conventional dairy, they're loaded with hormones. Refined vegetable oils are rancid. The oxidation process and the chemical solvent process destroys the integrity of vegetable oils, makes them inflammatory. GMO foods, grains, these things have glyphosate in it. And you can look up all sorts of research on glyphosate. There's some good research done at MIT and Harvard. It's just not talked about, but glyphosate just wreaks havoc on our gut, on our cells, on our thyroid, and our joints. Basically, it binds to our cells and completely gums up our normal metabolic system. And it's found in a lot of processed conventional foods, and it's found in tap water. It's found in pesticides. So obviously glyphosate's a pesticide, a chemical in Roundup, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, antibiotics, skin, hair, and cleaning products. So want to avoid these things as much as we can. Foods that help heal leaky gut, to help seal those gap junctions, help protect your bloodstream, help protect your tissues, keep the bad guys out, let the good guys in. We want to try to get these things into our diet every day. And some of you looking at that list might think, wow, like who's eating those things? And unfortunately, that's a sad reality of the society we live in. These things have long been forgotten. They used to be a huge part of traditional cultures and traditional diets where people had very vibrant health and low incidence of disease. Bone broth and organ meats, very rich in micronutrients, very rich in amino acids that help heal and seal the gut lining. Raw cultured organic dairy, good bacteria, loaded with micronutrients. All these share similar characteristics nutritionally. Fermented vegetables, rich in digestive enzymes, vitamin K, coconut products. They have fats that help fuel our gut lining, so they help keep that gut lining healthy. Sprouted seeds, flax, chia, and hemp. We want sprouted because when we sprout seeds, we eliminate the antinutrients. Phytic acid being one of them, but antinutrients in non-sprouted seeds will bind to nutrients in our food and prevent the absorption of them. So we want to try to do sprouted. Organic grass-fed beef. Grass-fed has a higher nutritional profile than non-grass-fed. That's indisputable. Grass-fed is better than grain-fed. Now I would say you want to try to find 100% grass-fed if you can. Ultimately do the best you can with what you've got in your area. Lamb, grass-fed beef and lamb, high in good fats like CLA, saturated fats that help heal the gut and also heal our brain. Wild-caught salmon, same thing, omega-3 fats. It's a good source of vitamin D as well. When we look at testosterone as a molecule in the body, a hormone, hormones are almost like signalers in the body, tell different tissues and cells what to do. Obviously very important for males for a lot of reasons, starting with the early on, the growth of the different, just the overall anatomy of males, growth of hair, chest hair, deepening of the voice, all those things. And obviously going into adulthood, it's a big part of the immune system and keeping our bodies strong and fit. And you can go around the list here, the different nutrients that help our body optimize and regulate testosterone production. You see there's not just one thing. It takes a combination of different nutrients to really fully optimize our hormonal system and to optimize our testosterone levels. You add in physical activity, you add in some nutrient-dense foods that we're going to talk about. You avoid statins and things that decrease cholesterol, because we're going to talk about how cholesterol is so important and it's so villainized, wrongly villainized, but so important for our hormonal health. But generally speaking, again, all these things, all these different nutrients, I can sit here and talk about all of them, but what this just means is we want a variety of nutrient-dense foods that contain all these different things. When we get them all in abundance, we're going to help optimize our hormonal system and optimize our healthy levels of testosterone in the male body. And this, really starts at the beginning, starts at birth. If you're breastfeeding, the mother should be eating nutrient-dense foods so the baby can get all these different nutrients from early on, so that we're standing on a strong foundation as that child and as that human grows and develops over time. The basics of a healing diet. So getting into nutrition now, and obviously if we can do those things start to heal our gut, now we want to get into the foods. How do we eat to really optimize our hormonal health, optimize our energy, just optimize the overall function of our bodies, so we're more content, we're more ambitious, we're more productive in life. And a big part of any diet is eliminating sugars or anything that turns to sugar, which are the grains and breads in our diet. And obviously eliminating sugars overnight is a bit unrealistic. We should have the ideology and the philosophy that we're going to try to minimize sugar every day. And some days will be bad, especially the holidays. But overall, the general attitude is I want to keep sugar low. As far as carbohydrates, eliminating all grains, especially if you're severely dealing with some severe issues, some severe diseases, secondary conditions, whatever you want to call them. Eliminating grains in general is just a good idea altogether. They're so processed, not very nutrient dense, because they're processed like that, and they can inflame the gut. Eliminating sugars, all fruit except berries, grapefruit, and Granny Smith apples, which have a less they cause less of a blood glucose spike in your body, which is why those are preferred if you're going to eat fruits. So even healthy grains rapidly turn to sugar. We just mentioned that, and they can feed pathogenic bacteria, which causes inflammation in your gut. So again, having a diet that optimizes your gut health is important. Moderating your intake of protein. Try to keep it at 30 grams per meal, 20 to 30 for men. It's a rough estimate, obviously, depending on your activity levels, your body composition, all that plays into. This is just a rough guideline. If you're eating a ton of protein, it really does depend on the protein type, but protein can turn to sugar as well. But really, I would say it's just more about the source of your protein. If it's good whole foods, good whole animal meats, organ meats, eggs, good whole raw dairy, all those things are great sources of protein. Fats, we want to increase our intake of healthy fats. I underline healthy here because rancid fats like vegetable oils, we don't want those at all. Those are very inflammatory on the body, but we want a very good level of healthy fats in our diet. We'll talk about those. So choosing better carbs, eliminating all grains, oats, oatmeal. This is good to do for people that are having severe health issues. If you're metabolically healthy, there's a place for sprouted oats, sourdough breads. Still don't want to overdo it, but in general, if you're really struggling with some different disease conditions, eliminating all grains is a good idea, in my opinion. Avoiding anything that is white, bleached, flour enriched. These are very rapidly, because of a big blood glucose spike and a big insulin response. Absolutely no pastas, potatoes, breads of any kind. And again, with the fruits, there's a few fruits that are okay: berries, Granny Smith apples. If you have really significant blood sugar issues, eliminating all fruits because of the sugar content is a good idea. As far as vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, squash. My favorite are root vegetables, and again, seasonal berries are best because of their low inflammation. They're lower, less inflammatory to the body than some of the other fruits. And broccoli, cauliflower, my veggies, I make sure I try to cook them, because when you cook them, you can make them more digestible, and you also eliminate some of the endogenous pesticides found in vegetables that can mess with our hormones as well. So the foundation of a healthy diet should be good, high quality animal fats, proteins. You fill in the gaps with your healthy organic sources of veggies and seasonal berries. Don't want to overdo those things. That can cause damage to our gut, can cause our blood sugar to spike, can also mess with our hormones. All right, so getting into fats here, we want to start making changes with fats. We want to remove the bad fats and replace them with good fats. And fats are so important for hormones. Saturated fats and even cholesterol, which has been so villainized, wrongly villainized. I've had a lot of male patients coming in on statins and dealing with hormonal issues, dealing with aches and pains, and can't really figure out why. Start increasing the amount of cholesterol, egg yolks, red meats, organ meats, full fat, raw dairy, and it's amazing how their whole attitude, demeanor changes. Their libido changes, all these different things. They're extremely deficient in cholesterol because we're constantly, mainstream traditionally, we're constantly harping on people to get cholesterol down. I think that's a bad idea. I don't think the science and the research says that's what we need to be doing. Health outcomes have been really poor for people with really low cholesterol. Bad fats are your canola oils, cottonseed oils, corn, safflower, sunflower, soybean oils. These are cheap. That's why food producers use them. They might claim they're healthy. That's not true. Avoid these foods like the plague. Not good. And they're in, like I said, they're just about everything because they're cheap. Helps food companies maximize their profit. Good fats are your whole, unadulterated fats. Minimally processed. Avocado, coconut oil, eggs, especially egg yolks, are so nutrient dense. Again, people tend to be scared. They come in and they say they avoid the egg yolks, just eat the whites. Don't do that. We want to eat the egg yolks. B vitamins, choline, cholesterol, all the good fats. Want to eat a lot of egg yolks, ideally from pastured hens. Olive oil, try to avoid cooking with it. It's not heat stable, but that's good to sprinkle on, asparagus, or if you're using it for a rub on a steak or something like that. Grass-fed, full-fat butter, dairy. You don't want to process dairy. If you process it, if you homogenize it, you pasteurize it, you're going to denature the proteins, denature the fats, kill off the good enzymes, kill off the good bacteria. Raw, full-fat dairy, ideally from grass-fed cows. You can find a local farmer. If that doesn't work, just your organic full-fat dairy is the second best option. Organ meats, liver, heart, kidney. I know that grosses a lot of people out. I don't eat them. I buy a freeze-dried supplement you can get online. Just haven't gotten around to utilizing those in our cooking at home. Wild-caught fish, salmon roe, sprouted nuts and seeds, pastured poultry, and pork. Now, how an animal is raised has a huge impact on the quality and nutrition of its tissue when we eat it. And that's why pastured poultry, grass-fed meats are best. They're also more nutrient dense, micronutrients, B vitamins, taurine, carnosine, all these different nutrients in good animal meats are higher in grass-fed or pastured animals. Remove all added sugar from your diet. I know I've mentioned this already, but just want to emphasize all the extra sugar in our diet, how it messes up our hormones, how it causes inflammation in our gut. Not good. Just being aware of those things is so important. And when we talk about sugar, a huge part of it comes from soft drinks, but also a bigger part of it comes from sources people don't really realize: lunch meats, pizza sauces, and these are all processed, obviously. Ketchup, mayonnaise, all your condiments, yogurts, a lot of times low fat, high sugar, and we want to avoid all these things if we can and be aware of it. There's alternative sources to all these different things. They're out there. It takes a little work up front, but once you dig in, you start to do it, it becomes really easy to start to avoid these things. White breads, white rice, anything, the white pasta. Again, trying to minimize that and eliminate it if you can, because that basically turns to sugar, and you get a big insulin spike, glucose spike in your bloodstream, and that chronically will lead to inflammation in our tissues. This is a smoothie I like to start the day with. I use organic frozen berries, full-fat kefir that I make with raw milk, or you can use yogurt. I like raw egg yolks. A lot of people are worried about salmonella, all that. I'm telling you, if it's a good pasture-raised egg, you do not have to worry about it. Is there a chance? Sure, it's very minimal. I would say it's the evidence shows it's very safe to eat good quality raw eggs. And the reason I like raw is because when you cook an egg, you do lose a lot of nutrition. You oxidize some of the fats. So anytime I fry an egg, I also like a runny yolk. At the end of the day, any egg's good, but I'm pretty picky about those things. But I like raw egg yolks. I consume a ton of raw egg yolks. My family consumes a ton of raw egg yolks. We have been for a long time. Raw milk from grass-fed cows. You can use coconut milk or almond milk as an alternative. Collagen protein powder and a little stevia to taste. This is an excellent way to get good fats and protein in a quick and convenient way. And this will keep you full for a long time. All right, a little bit about cholesterol, and we had mentioned a little earlier, and so important when it comes to male health, optimizing our hormones, optimizing testosterone. If you are deficient in cholesterol, you're going to be deficient in testosterone. It's only a matter of time. And cholesterol is a huge part of fueling our heart, fueling our brain. Same with saturated fats, and these things have been just villainized terribly over the years. And the evidence, the scientific evidence does not show that cholesterol causes heart disease. It's the oxidation of cholesterol that causes heart disease. And what oxidizes cholesterol? It's a complex process, but sugar is one of the main ones. Bad fats like vegetable oils and different toxins that can get into our bloodstream after we get a leaky gut. There's a lot that goes into that. We don't have time to delve in all the details here, but more people have heart attacks with normal cholesterol rather than elevated cholesterol. There's some research for you to look into if you'd like. There's a higher death rate with low cholesterol than with high cholesterol. We've been conventionally told to think lower cholesterol is the better. Simply not true. You got to undo that thinking. I'm telling you, that's dangerous. It's the oxidation of cholesterol that's not good. So if you're eliminating good nutrient-dense foods like egg yolks and red meats and animal fats, you're going to not be getting these good fats that go into building hormones in our body. Cholesterol is a precursor to all our hormones. So if we're low on it, we're eventually going to have issues with testosterone production and optimization. So don't be afraid of cholesterol. Statin drugs lower cholesterol, but not a significant decrease in the incidence of heart attack and stroke. A small decrease comes from anti-inflammatory effects, not its effect on cholesterol. Statins cause heart failure due to the depletion of coenzyme Q10, over increase of over 50%. Statins, I think a lot of people know, have their downfalls. Obviously, some people have a rare and extremely rare genetic conditions where cholesterol production is basically uncontrolled. Like I said, there's a time and a place for medication, but I think in my experience, in my clinic, it's way overemphasized and overpushed. Statins have been linked to liver problems and joint pain. Statins could potentially decrease testosterone levels by reducing the availability of cholesterol for androgen testosterone synthesis. Basically, what they're saying is lowering cholesterol is decreasing testosterone levels. Makes sense since cholesterol is absolutely required to produce testosterone in the body. This is a journal you can look up. In the same study, a ketogenic, a fat-based diet, high cholesterol intake, increased testosterone levels. So not a good idea to be eating high carb, high grains, even high fruits and vegetables, because you're not getting any cholesterol. Cholesterol is so important. Every cell in our body needs cholesterol in the membranes, our hormones, our heart uses it as fuel, our brain tissue is a huge part of it is cholesterol. It's used to create the myelin sheath that protects our spinal cord and helps send nerve signals through our brain, down our spine, into our body, and back and forth. I've obviously emphasized how important cholesterol is. Complementary lifestyle additions here. Exercise is so important for stimulating a hormonal response in the body, triggering testosterone production, getting nutrient transfusion into our cells and tissues, helping detoxify the body. We need to move. And it doesn't have to be long and complex and complicated. It's obviously nice to have a coach, have a trainer, but simple swim, biking, jogging, 20, 30 minutes a day. I'm really a big fan of burst training or high intensity interval training, Tabata, if you've heard of those. Basically, you're going really intense for a short period of time, brief rest periods, and it only takes around 10, 20, 30 minutes a day. Doing that 3 times a week would be excellent. And we really got to start with something that fits into your lifestyle. Don't think you have to work out for hours on end every day. That's going to cause more stress and more stress hormones, testosterone. So it should be quick and efficient. It doesn't have to be long and monotonous, but it's so important for helping all the different systems of the body and detoxification, hormone production. So try to find a way to mix in movement into your lifestyle. You combine good, healthy fats, proteins, good animal fats into your diet. It's a recipe for optimal testosterone production, optimal male hormonal health. I'll talk a little bit about vagus nerve here. So the vagus nerve is what helps our bodies basically heal and relax. And with that, when you're in a more relaxed state and you're not stressed out, your body is going to be able to produce higher levels of testosterone and help optimize your overall hormonal health. So ways to stimulate our vagus nerve or improve vagal tone or put our body in a more parasympathetic state. We want to have good, positive social relationships, hanging out with friends, taking time to just socialize. Exposure to cold, like cold splash of water in your face, gargling, singing, chanting, humming, massage, a good laugh, yoga, tai chi, breathing deeply and slowly. We talked about exercise. What I do in my clinic, structural chiropractic, adjustments of the spine, making sure the spine is moving and normally, helps the brain communicate optimally with the body, puts our body in a more relaxed parasympathetic state, stimulating our vagus nerve. Try to incorporate these on a regular basis as part of the big picture and getting your body to function more optimally. And again, going back to our philosophy at the clinic is creating health in the body and understanding that there is an intelligence in your body. This isn't, I'm not, getting religious here. There's literally an innate intelligence. This is recognized by the medical community and has been for many years. Your brain has an intelligence and heals your body. I mean, for cutting your arm to heal, for the food you eat to turn into healthy tissue, for our immune system to just protect us without us thinking about it. That's the intelligence in your body. That's done through the nervous system. So we want to support that system in our body is the idea. It's, at conception, when two cells come together and then a multi-trillion cellular organism is created, it's an amazing process and it's carried out by the intelligence of your body. We got to recognize the power of that intelligence in our body and we got to support it. And when we support it with the things we talked about here at this webinar, you're going to give your body the best shot at health and minimizing disease and dysfunction. And again, treatment or prevention. So you got to choose. Traditionally, the medical model, they're great at emergency care, at reactive care. But ideally, we need to start educating people on a more proactive, salutogenic model of healing the body, using lifestyle, daily habits to create health in the body. That's a proactive, preventative approach. And obviously, each one of you has the option to choose what you want to do. And I respect everyone's individual health freedom and rights to choose what they want to do. And more power to you. If no matter what, obviously, what my recommendation is. You know what I believe is the best approach. And with that information, hopefully now you're armed with that knowledge and you can start to go out and start to make changes on a daily basis to be more proactive, to create health in your body, even if you don't have symptoms. You want to do these things no matter what. If you just want to wait around until you have symptoms, you're getting back into the reactionary approach. So start taking action. If you have any questions, Dr. John Arns, you can email me, drjohnarns@gmail.com. I'd be happy to discuss anything. If you have questions about whatever we talked about, you can also visit our website, www.completechiromn.com. Appreciate you all for listening. Hope you found the information valuable and hope you start taking action. So good luck and start making some changes every day. Thank you.